everyone. Velocity here, back in action for more The Incan Attraction. That's right, we're in a bit of a tiffle because we have to show evidence that allegedly explains what really happened on the night of the professor's execution. Which honestly, I do not know. I did not think prior to this. No thoughts, head empty, puppy girl time. Let's go. Suffice to say, let's look around, shall we? This might be it. The Traverse, a dreadful encounter. That might in fact be what it is. Oh my god, this might actually be it now I think about it. Investors, this, that, this to that. That's fine. Because it's funny and it makes sense actually. Wait, is there like, can we like look? No, it is surface level thing. So boop.
Take that.
What happened that night is written very plainly in the newspaper article. Executed criminal returned to the dead of night at local cemetery. You're suggesting it was a corpse coming back from the dead now? Well, if this article is to be believed, yes. The professor, assumed dead following his execution, emerged from his grave and was killed again.
Objection.
Don't be a fool. That's simply a rumor published by the gutter press. Can you be certain of that? Are you serious? The point is, as the article says, there was a witness to what happened. My word, yes, indeed. Monsieur! The young man who's still in the cemetery by chance that night.
Objection.
Of course there was a witness. The story didn't write itself, but obviously the man made it all up. In the case that was 10 years ago now, there would surely be no hope of finding him.
Objection.
On the contrary, my lord, we all know this witness well. What? Are you suggesting, counsel, that you identify the person in question? That you know who claims to have seen this utterly incredible events take place? Yes, my lord. In fact, you could say he's right there. Before my very own eyes. You will sustain your latest claim now, then, counsel. Who in this alleged witness the staggering scene from the cemetery 10 years ago? Well, he ain't gonna believe this. But
Take that.
the man in question is Mr. Enoch Drebber. Drebber. The previous witness? The special exhibit in the House of Horrors at Madame Tuspel's Museum of Wax Work recreates that decade-old scene in great detail. A condemned criminal emerging from the grave, and beside the tomb, a young man with a lantern stumbling onto a terrifying sight. And that young man is a 10-year younger, Mr. Enoch Drebber. Order, order, order! Surely not, counsel. Drebber was there, in Lowgate Cemetery. What does all this talk about, Mr. Drebber? Is the name significant? Of course, Madame Tuspels doesn't know, does she? Yes, it's extremely significant, madam. To your situation as well, in fact. What situation? The death of the Professor Waxwork from your museum some days ago was perpetrated by this very same man. No! But that would mean... Madame Tuspels. It would appear you know the name Enoch Drebber. Oh, yes, I know it. But from long ago in the past. What? Oh my. Good gracious. Explain yourself. Tell us everything you know. Yes. Yes, of course. The story of the young man and the terrible sight he witnessed in the cemetery 10 years ago was published in every single newspaper in London and throughout Great Britain. However, in all of the articles, the witness was simply described as a certain young man. No details were published about his identity. His name was never revealed. That is, apart from one newspaper. The Daily Secrets is the paper from which comes the article I have already shown the court. You're saying that his full name was only publicized in that article? Goodness me! Yes, here it is! University student who experienced this shocking event. It's Mr. Notch Treba. A discipline of science at the University of London, and a resident of its student dorms. Unbelievable! When I read the article, I went to meet with the man. His discovery of the condemned criminal coming back to life in the cemetery in the dead of night would make a perfect exhibit for my House of Horrors, whether it was truth or not. I see. So you went to meet Mr. Treba in order to sculpt a waxwork of the man, did you? Exactamente. He was studying science at the University of London in those days. He was just a poor student. I paid him £5 to model for the waxwork. And since that time, it has been my museum to recreate the scene of terror from the cemetery. So, 10 years ago, a young man appealed to the public about an extraordinary event he witnessed. A criminal who had been put to death, re-emerging from his grave in the middle of the night. But the public treated his claim as nothing more than an amusing anecdote that was soon forgotten. 10 years later, the same man steals a waxwork model of the executed criminal, obscenely to use as a body double for the victim in the case we're discussing here today. Even though the waxwork's build is a poor match for the victim, and its face is obscured by a mask. So the question is, why would the man do such a thing? Which brings us to 3 days ago, when the birdcage crashed into the Crystal Tower. If the birdcage had in fact contained not the body of Mr. Osmond, but the same waxwork, the coroner from Scotland Yard who'd investigated, Dr. Seath, would have noticed immediately. And yet she had submitted this autopsy report for the victim, which the court has seen earlier. Why? Because the waxwork was that of the professor. Is that what you're saying? Dr. Seath put her name to a document confirming the death of a condemned criminal who was still alive. A criminal whose apparent resurrection was witnessed by Mr. Drebber. But the misconduct was a deadly secret the coroner would do anything to protect. Which is precisely why Mr. Drebber used that particular waxwork as the body double. Ugh. My lord, this court must summon Dr. Seath to the stand. The defense is determined to find out exactly how the coroner and Mr. Trevor are connected. But according to the missive I received this morning from the prosecutor's office, Dr. Sith is unable to participate in these proceedings. Is that not the case? She told us so herself, didn't she? Lord Van Zieks wouldn't be summoning me as a witness. Lord Strongheart has forbidden it. Lord Strongheart? And Pandora's box you were warned about is the professor's case. But please don't make the mistake of thinking you'll get any information about it out of me. Something happened the night of that killer's execution 10 years ago. Surely nobody would want to get to the bottom of that more than Lord Van Zieks. The prosecution calls all the instructions in that missive to be scrapped. But Lord Van Zieks, the missive was issued from Lord Chief Justice's office.
Objection!
The assigned prosecutor has the final say on policy in any particular trial. In other words, me. Yes. Let Enoch Drebber and Dr. Seath both take the stand together. Order! 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 Very well, I will uphold your request. Bailiff, send this opinion with an immediate effect addressed to Dr. Seath of the Forensic Investigation Team. This woman is compelled to attend on Her Majesty's orders. Alright then. Enoch Drebber and Dr. Seath. They weren't colluding with one another. This crime could never have been committed. Just a stone's throw away. You could feel it. The truth behind all of this is about to come out. Oh, they're all there. Let's go. Thank you for your attendance at such short notice, Dr. Seath. I am disappointed in you, Lord Van Zieks. You completely betrayed the agreed policy of both Scotland Yard and the prosecutor's office. Betrayal's not in my nature, as long as the truth isn't compromised. If it is, if there's even a hint of wrongdoing, then, no matter whom it concerns or disgruntles, I will pursue the matter to the bitter end, as would any prosecutor worth his salt. Mr. Drebber, you took the victim's life by means of the machine that you constructed in your workshop. And Dr. Seath, as the investigating coroner, you were the first on the scene to examine the victim's body. It is the belief of the defense that you collaborated with each other and were both complicit in this crime. And what is your evidence? At present, we have no definitive evidence, but we do have a very significant clue. What are you talking about? I'm talking, of course, about the waxwork. This model of the killer known as the Professor, who was sentenced to death 10 years ago now. You don't need to tell me. I witnessed the man's execution with my own eyes, and officially pronounced him dead. That remains to be seen. Is that so? According to newspaper reports from the time, on the night following his execution, the killer came back to life. Don't waste my time. The sole witness to that mysterious event was you, Mr. Drebber, wasn't it? If what you saw in the graveyard that night 10 years ago wasn't some chilling fiction, but reality, would make you privy to the very great secret of Dr. Seuss. A secret so profound it could compel the coroner to agree to collaborate in your evil scheme, in fact. Mr. Trevor, tell the court. Tell everyone the truth of what you saw the night in Lowgate Cemetery. So you as a student who saw it? You can see the resemblance actually, can't you? With the man in spells, I mean. Lily is not going to claim that he's really what he saw, especially not after all these years. He was a research student at the University of London, was he? And a bit too clever for his own good, if you ask me. What an interesting twist. Huh? When at the time, not one person would take me seriously. And now here we are, 10 years later. Suddenly the story matters. And in a court of law, too. Very well then. If everyone so wishes. Let's be frank. I'll tell you the truth of what happened that night. For what it's worth. So, Mr. Trevor, your testimony, please, about the events of that night 10 years ago. You will tell the court exactly what you stumble across in Lowgate Cemetery. Yes, of course, as you wish. In the cemetery 10 years earlier. The reason I was at Lowgate Cemetery all 10 years ago was for a spot of moonlighting, shall we say. Yes, the illustration in that newspaper article was based on what I witnessed that night. But thinking back now, I realized that I never actually saw the professor. Soon afterward, I was visited by a young woman who sculpted a model of me from wax. Then I gave up on my dream of becoming a scientist. And it was all because that newspaper article. Because of it? Wait a minute! You're claiming you didn't actually see the professor now? Of course. You'd have to have a screw loose if you believed a corpse could come back from the dead. But, so, you're saying this article is not worth the paper it's printed on? I think that would describe it perfectly, yes. The details in the article aren't true. It nullifies your argument for why Mr. Trevor and Dr. Seuss would have been working together. So he's discrediting himself to cripple my argument? Tell me, witness. You claim to have been in the cemetery at some luxury business. Can you elaborate? That's right. Grave robbing, to be precise. As you know, Lowgate Cemetery is at the rear of Barclay Prison. So among the students at the university, it had a reputation for being haunted by ghosts of condemned convicts. Grave robbing, you say? Yes. Exhuming fresh corpses to sell is reasonably lucrative. Of course, I never laid a figure on any valuables buried with the dead. So you are one of the so-called resurrectionists, a particularly unpleasant scourge of society. Actually, my fellows and I went by another name. The Repurposers. That is quite beyond the pale. You would invite divine retribution, sir? Yes, well, I think I suffered retribution enough. The Daily Circus eventually unearthed my name and put it in print. It caused me a great many headaches. In the end, I had to leave the university. That was the only paper with the bad grace to identify me unambiguously, I might add. I see. Out of interest, who drew the illustration for this article? Yes, that was the reporter who exposed me. He sketched that right in front of me as I described the scene. Obviously, as time ticked on, I bitterly regretted what I'd done, claiming to have seen something I never truly saw. Foolish. Very foolish. Well, counsel for the defense, you may proceed to the cross-examination now. At once, my lord. In the cemetery 10 years ago. Or earlier. Okay. There's a spot of moonlighting, that's fine. Nothing weird there. Based on what you saw, thinking back now, I realize I never actually saw the professor at all, though. Let's see this. What are you talking about? I think I explained already, didn't I? Lowgate Cemetery is at the rear of Barclay Prison, so it was renowned among us students at the university for being haunted by the ghosts of the condemned convicts. For some absurd reason, I was scared of the graveyard at night, and as a result, only too willing to believe that nonsense about the dead coming back to life. But you said you actually saw it! I said what I seen in my mind's eye. After all, resurrection is impossible, isn't it? You'd have to be unhinged to think otherwise. Unless, of course, you have some evidence that proves I encountered the professor that night. Don't know. Is there any material that could show you really did see the professor? Do you have anything at all, Mr. Nara, though? I know. I need to present it against that irritatingly backtracking statement of his. The point is, the night was a pivotal moment in my life. Visited by a young woman for modeling. That's fine. Why did you give up your dream, bud?
Hold it!
This article, you mean? Published in the Daily Circus? Yes, somebody informed the dean that it was my name that appeared in the article. And carelessly let slip that night after night. I was digging up graves. Hardly a model student, you might say. The university's reputation was exemplarily defiled, and I was expelled as a result. Mon Dieu, I had no idea. And having been run out of university, you found employment in a somewhat specialized trade. You combine your knowledge of science with knowledge of your stage magic to create various experimental machines intended to demonstrate never-before-seen technology. And you use those deceptive machines to trick the government and private investors into giving you money? Professor Albert Harebrain was just your latest victim, wasn't he? Whatever are you talking about? I have no recollection of doing anything of the sort. Oh? What's Trevor up to? Why would he suddenly change his tune and recant his claim? I wonder if perhaps it's because the circumstances have changed now. What circumstances? Well, if he admits to having seen the professor emerging alive from his grave 10 years ago, it will expose a secret to Dr. C's past that she would desperately want to hide. Yes, of course. If Trevor and Dr. C are working together now, then if Trevor were to betray her, there would be no reason for her to continue to cooperate. In that case, there's only one way around it. I'll have to prove he really did see it. Prove he really did see the professor's corpse coming back from the dead, as he originally claimed. Yes, Mr. Naruto, exactly. She's just a mind reader. It's just the funniest thing to me. It's really cute. Spot of moonlighting? Okay, let's hear more of this. I need to hear it. By moonlighting, you mean grave robbing, do you? Surely you only need to look at the graveyard scene and my appearance to gauge the answer to that. The lantern and spade. But who on earth would want to buy a dead body? Any major hospital. Hospital? In order to better understand the human body, the study of anatomy is crucial to medical science. But there's a hospital in the world that has enough specimens to work with. Though obviously they can't openly express an interest in obtaining more by dubious means. As aspiring scientists, we young research students have no money to work with, as I'm sure you can imagine. So we made serendipitous arrangements with a hospital via some of our medical student acquaintances. We would never take anything of value from the graves. This is all from the furtherance of science, you see. That's why we all told ourselves every time we stole into the graveyard at night, spade in hand. You realize body snatching is a serious crime. If you were caught, you could expect the gravest of consequences. We students were caught between the hammer and the anvil. We needed funds for research. Professor Hairbrain said exactly the same. I'm quite speechless at the apparent levity of which you revealed this abhorrent behavior. Well, if you want to know why I was there in Lowgate Cemetery, that's the reason. But I never expected it to end the way it did. That I regret to this day. He regrets it? Alright, we need to look at this one too. The strange happening at Lowgate Cemetery, which you now deny. Not entirely. I ran fetch the police at the time. You know, I was shaking like a leaf. But they didn't believe a word of it. In fact, I was nearly arrested myself. So you went to the papers instead? I started big with the London News, but unsurprisingly, they didn't want to know either. In the end, though, it was reporters from the gossip rags, the gutter press, that came to get my story. And it spread like the plague throughout the capital, as gossip-hungry Londoners lapped up the tale. The story was in every single paper at the time, with the exception of some broadsheets. And yet only 2 or 3 of them actually interviewed me personally. Most of the accounts turned out to be very interpretive ghost stories. What about the article in the Daily Circus? That particular journalist found me at my dormitory. I don't know how, but he discovered my name. So I recounted to him exactly what had happened that night. And from your description, he drew this illustration? Precisely. That's how I learned the condemned man was an infamous professor. Because the reporter told me so. I had no idea myself, you see. Newspaper reporters are wont to snoop around in matters that don't concern them. So the scene portrayed in the illustration is accurate, then? Well, I was visited by a young woman who sculpted a model for me. You know what? I think we have to, like, press this one specifically to get him to, like, say something else by her means.
Hold it!
That young woman being Madame Duspel, of course. Precisely. I must say, I didn't expect to run into her again. Like this 10 years later. As I have explained, I went by the name I published in the article, and Kolmeka, I found the man. Yes, the article in the Daily Circus, I think you said. I was a poor student with barely a penny to my name at the time. And the young lady put £5 in front of me. So you readily consented to having a waxwork of yourself made and gave permission for it to be put on display. I did. I should sell what little I had to sell, I concluded. Ah, oi, I remember now. I purchased something else from you that day. Is not the pass? Did you? I can't say I remember. What was it, madam? His camera. Ah! Yes, I made a point of taking it with me whenever I made an excursionary into any cemetery. You took a camera with you, sir? To what end? To record the details of the body, I discerned. But I had no intention of ever visiting a graveyard again after that night, so I sold it. I see. But I still have it, Monsieur. It is a part of the special exhibit in my house of horrors. I am very meticulous about such details. It is the Duspel's way. It would seem, then, this is the very camera Mr. Trevor took with him to Lowgate Cemetery on the night in question. Yes, interesting. Let's go! We got it. So we needed that. You see what I'm saying? We had to get that. Because there's something else there. I just need to make sure that it says it on there. That's really all it comes down to. Lens, dark stain with bowels. But we need to examine it again. Like so. But I just need to do this part. So I can get this little part of the oil. Come on. Apparently it has it? Okay.
Objection!
No, it's not the camera! It's not the camera? I never actually saw the professor. What would have been an indication that he did in fact see it? Not that one. This one, maybe? Mad Sheep Rampage. Charles Darwin to receive a Copial Medal. The Great Sink. Oh, the Great Stink. Was the Bal Masque to blame for the Great Blaze? I think it's that. I guess it would be this on a technicality. Appears to be wearing a monocle with black glasses. I imagine it's something. It shows another balloon he claims. No. The only thing I can think of is the professor head. But like this literally had that. The actual Cameron Mr. DeBurs had in his had with them in the cemetery 10 years ago. When the lens is extended, dark staining can be seen on the bellows. So let's go back. Lowgate Cemetery all 10 years ago was for a spot of moonlighting. I realized that I never actually saw the professor at all, though. This is by a young woman who sculpted a model of me from wax. Then I gave up on my dream of becoming a scientist. It was all because of that newspaper article. So I'm sure we have to do it here. It's been hinted as much. But what is indicating that we've seen him? Ish. Be a crescent. No, no. This has something. I know it has something. We definitely needed to get this. But where? Because if we need to get it, it should be used like around now. Because you want to be able to go past this. And my thinking is that, like, what if you took a picture of it or something like that, you know? Redacted for confidentiality. The only other thing I can think of is literally this. And then this is like the next thing. But I don't know if it's just a matter of like, oh, I have to look at like something else here to get him? Or what? Let's just see here. Why would he suddenly change his tune and recant his claim? Circumstances. Miss Savvy, see the professor. Yes, of course. But if Trevor were to betray her, there would be no reason. In that case, there's proof he really did see the professor's corpse coming from back from the dead he originally claimed. Was it, or was it based on this? Because it's possible that it is. Oh, Osmond. Why does it say Oh, Osmond on there? University student who experienced this shocking event is a resident of the student dorms. Just behind the prison. On night of the foul demons. Young man witnessed it. This next, a gunshot rang out suddenly from behind. The bullet pierced through the resurrected man's chest, whose breath there still once more. The youth then finally released the scream he had been holding for his entire life. This year's recipient of the Royal Society Most Prestigious Award is Mr. Charles Darwin. For a great many years, Parliament has at long last resolved to relieve the citizens of London of a horrifying stench that carries on the slightest breeze. Rather than engulf the popular theatre, continues to draw attention as reports that Her Majesty Queen Victoria herself visited the Royal Italian Opera to investigate the site and offer words of condolences to the theatre's owner, Mr. Frederick Gay. I think the best we have here is literally just like, hey, it's this. Like, that feels to me like is the case. If not the case, I might have to look this up. I'm gonna be honest.
Objection.
Yep. Damn it. Like, I have an inkling towards what I could do there, but it's just a matter that, like, I don't know where to penetrate this idea that I have. Was based on what I witnessed last night. What if it was based off of this? Like, that is my actual thinking here, is that it's based off of that. Alright. I don't know. We'll have to figure this out next time, fam, because I'm so confused. Until then, though, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all later, okay? Like, comment, subscribe if you can. Sayonara. Bye-bye.